Hi, it's Niall Boylan. Not long to go now till the elections, and as you know, I'm running as an EU candidate for the Dublin constituency. But thank you so much to everybody who's been so kind and so wonderful in our wonderful city of Dublin when we were out on the campaign trail and canvassing over the last few weeks. We've had so many eyes and so many friendly, smiling people thanking us for standing up to speak for them and their frustrations. We've shared laughs, we've shared jokes and smiles and the odd hug as well. But there have been those low moments when we went around talking to people because they feel taxed out of existence. They feel so ignored and frustrated, and they're worried about their children's future. They're tired of working for nothing. They're tired of struggling to make ends meet. They're tired of the immigration crisis, and they're worried their children will have to emigrate out of the country. They're worried because their children will never be able to afford a home, and so many other things. But most of all, they feel voiceless and ignored. They're sick of the false promises and the failed policies from the existing establishment parties.
Well, you're going to see a big change in Europe this year. We're seeing it all across Europe and all across the world. And it's not a swing to the right. This is a mistake people are making. It's a swing back to the centre and common sense. And I want to be part of that swing. I want to make sure I'm there to represent you. And I want to be the real voice of Dublin and of Ireland. And on the 7th of June, I want you to come out and vote for me, Niall Boylan. Because together, we can be the real voice of Dublin in the European Parliament.
It is Niall Boylan with you for the next hour or so. I hear you're racist now, Father. Is that true, Father? That has to be the funniest line in comedy history. And it's been used on so many GIFs over the last 2 or 3 days. Or here you are racist now, Father. Very interesting debate last night between Neil Richmond, TD and Minister for State, and also John McGurk from Grip Media, if you were watching the Tonight Show last night. What an absolute shit show. I mean, you would imagine at some point the host of the show would have interjected and brought a bit of normality to it, with Neil Richmond making some of the most outrageous comments and not even listening to what John McGurk had to say, or maybe just pretending he wasn't listening. I don't particularly know. He was doing that old trope when you talk about immigration, referring to, people who work in hospitals, people from the Philippines, I imagine, who work in hospitals, diversity in society, people who work in, all the international companies like Google and all those other places who are not originally from Ireland, obviously, but come here through the proper visa process and come here through natural immigration policy. And he was comparing that with everything in immigration. You just can't do that. And he constantly kept doing it and talking over John McGurk all the time. And to be honest with you, it was actually embarrassing to watch. Really embarrassing to watch. Also as well, can I just say, yesterday's podcast broke all of our podcast records. So thank you very much to everybody who either downloaded or watched it live yesterday. So much so, we decided the debate was so important in relation to immigration and what happened in Ballinrobe yesterday that we would leave it up online. So if you go onto Twitter, on Facebook, we left the stream up. And people often ask me, why do you always delete the live stream? Well, the reason we delete the live stream is to get you to go to our website and Spotify and everything else, because it's the only way we can make any revenue is obviously asking you to sign up to our website. So, and when you go to our website, you're actually, realistically, when you're listening to the podcast on our website, you're actually listening to it from Spotify or iTunes or somewhere else, because it's just basically been transferred through to our website. So that's the only way that we can actually make any money, is by asking you to subscribe to the site. So please do that. Support the show. And I say it every day, and I probably normally would say it at the end of the show, but I'm saying it at the start of the show now because it's really important. Again, I want to explain to you in more detail our plans, but I don't want to do that yet because I don't want to let cats out of bags. Because other people out there tend to want to copy us all the time because we're the ones who are doing it right, with Ireland's only fully interactive podcast every single day. So what I will say to you is we do have a plan. We're going to make the podcast much more accessible. We're going to try and put it into everybody's home every single day. I'm not giving too many clues away, am I? But anyway, we will want to make it more. And the more popular it gets, of course, the more powerful it becomes. So please support the podcast. If you can, subscribe to us. It's $5.99 a month. There's three of us working on the show here. We don't get paid. We don't make enough money to even cover the costs. But thank you to those who do subscribe and who have donated to us. Not enough, unfortunately, but we need you to do it. So please, if you get a chance at some point over the next couple of hours, go to our website, niallboylan.com. If you can't subscribe and you can't afford to commit monthly to $5.99 plus tax, which is basically a pint of beer between the three of us once a month for what we do, I would ask you even just make a one-off donation. You can click on donate. If you go into the menu there on the website, you'll see donate, and you can just do a one-off donation for $5 or $500, whatever you want. So please support the show, and we can continue to do this every single day. And we want to continue to do it every day. We want to do more of it, and we want to make it more accessible. So please help us to do that. The only way we can do it is with your help. Remember, it's your show, your platform, your uncensored opinions. Now, today, I wanted to talk about this idea. There was a couple of years ago, it was suggested people should be required to show proof of ID to set up any social media account. And the government and the opposition agreed with the suggestion at the time. Now, the idea is back again. And this time they kind of mean business. The Children's Rights Alliance, CyberSafe Kids and the ISPCC are urging politicians to use a new online safety and media regulation bill to mark the end of self-regulation for tech and social media giants. They say for too long the responsibility to keep yourself safe has rested with young users themselves and with parents. And the idea is back again. And this time, as I said, they mean business. Last week, it was suggested that the use of porn sites should be only for those who verify their identification and keep children away from harmful content. And I think most people would probably have agreed with that. We didn't even do it as a topic because the majority of people would agree with that when it comes to pornography sites. And last week, it was suggested to also that social media should now require a valid form of identification to verify that you are who you say you are. Now, there are pros and cons to this suggestion. I'm all for freedom of speech, and I support it in every single way. And I'm against anything that stifles free speech. But I will argue that free speech does come with legal responsibilities. If you defame anybody or make a false accusation against somebody, you should be legally responsible for destroying a person's reputation, and that goes without saying. The downside of this idea is that it creates a chilling effect on speech and whistleblowing if people have to identify themselves. Now, the latest proposal has been put forward by Ireland's new Online Safety Commissioner. Ireland, according to some accounts, Ireland is taking a bold step towards safeguarding children online with its new proposed online age verification system. The initiative comes from Commission Naman, which is, if you don't know who Commission Naman are, they used to be called the BAI, or the Broadcasting Authority. Now they're called Commission Naman because they regulate everything, including social media. Ireland's Online Safety Commission office, which aims to ensure that adult content remains out of the reach of young users. The draft online safety code could transform into active Ireland's passport ID law, requiring stringent measures to validate a user's age before accessing social media platforms and adult websites. So they're now including social media as well. Reading from one website, it says, under the new regulations, accessing Facebook with ID in Ireland or any other major social network could involve submitting a photo or a live camera shot. Such online age verification in Ireland isn't merely about erecting digital barriers, it's about securing children's welfare in an increasingly connected and complex world. This is according to the object, or should I say, those who agree with it. But I want to know if you would object to it. So I think we all agree that it's very important that we protect children from pornography. But now we're moving into social media. Now, that means that everybody who's using Twitter, everybody who's using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it happens to be, in Ireland, you will have to produce a valid form of identification, i.e. your passport, or upload a photograph of it, or your driver's license, or it could involve taking a photograph of you. I'm sure if many of you have signed up for Revolut, which I have, when you sign up, they ask you to upload your passport, and they also ask you to take a photograph of yourself and upload it to them. A little circle comes up for your head to sit in the middle of. I'm sure you've all done that. It takes about an hour or two, and then there are software checks to make sure it's valid, etc., and to make sure your picture matches the one in the passport. In other words, they verify you are who you say you are. Would you like to see that on social media? Do you think it'll make social media a safer place? Do you think it's a good idea? Or are there too many risks involved in accessing your privacy just so you can use social media? It looks like it's going to happen, but do you agree with it? Let me know what you think. The number is 085 100 22 55. That's 085 100 22 55. Do you agree with having to verify your identification to use social media? It would certainly do away with all the trolling, that's for sure. Let me go to Tom. Tom, hi, how are you doing?
Not too bad, no. How are yourself, Niall?
Good. Tom, I mean, Ireland seems to be leading the way when it comes to all this. And I'm looking here, there's an American website, and they've actually said the debate on Ireland's approach to safeguarding the internet for minors is a nuanced one. In other words, that we're kind of all-encompassing. In other words, we're not just going for the pornography now, we're going for everybody, for social media. Would you object to having to upload your driver's license or passport?
Completely object. I think it's absolutely abhorrent. I think that anonymity online is something that was pretty much guaranteed when the internet set off to the public. I would agree, as you said earlier, as anyone with common sense would, that we need to protect kids, that we need to protect them from things like pornography, but the onus falls on the parents. If we were to go down any form of road in terms of protection for kids, first of all, they're not allowed on social media unless they're 13 years or older. I'd go a step further. I don't think anyone should be allowed a smartphone until they're about 18 years of age, because it's just as addictive and dangerous as things like smoking, drinking, gambling.
It's antisocial apart from anything else, yeah.
There's that too, but it's been proven time and again that it releases the exact same type of dopamine into your brain every time your phone vibrates as smoking cigarettes, as taking drugs, as drinking. So it's really, really detrimental to the development of any child. It's detrimental to adults. We've seen that. We've seen how people react to things online and how they take things personally. But I think having to upload your IDs and stuff like that just to log into social media, I think it's absolutely abhorrent. I think it's an absolute invasion of privacy.
Okay, so when you say it's an invasion of privacy, I mean, we already give them quite a lot of information. For example, when you set up a social media account, you give them your email address and your phone number. You have to give your phone number, of course, for verification. So,
not anymore.
Well, you do, don't you? With Twitter, you have to give your phone number.
They don't have mine.
Well, then how did you set it up? Because I remember when I set up Twitter first, and every now and again they still do this thing where if I log on from a different computer, they send me a code, via my phone, or a text or something with a code on it.
I get an email for that sort of thing. They have my email address, but they don't have my phone number.
Right, okay.
I won't give my phone number to social media sites because they're not entitled to it. It's mine.
But here's the thing. I use my real name on social media, and on Twitter. A lot of people don't. I know. By the way, I have no objection to you calling yourself Porky the Pig or whatever it happens to be. Right? That's fine as long as the social media company is aware of who you are. Because here's the problem. I don't agree with censoring speech at all. I'm all for free speech, right? But that comes with that comes with responsibility. So, for example, if you went on earlier defamation and stuff, absolutely, if you went online and made accusations against me that were completely untrue, I should have some sort of comeback.
There should absolutely be legal ramifications for stuff like that.
But how can there be legal ramifications if we've no idea who you are?
That's actually a fair point. I never thought of that. But at the same time, I still think that anonymity is sacrosanct. Like what you said a while ago about whistleblowers. Like, how would that ever be possible ever again?
Yeah, and I know people, for example, who work in the civil service, and they're not allowed to really use social media because they're not allowed to be anti-government while they're working for the civil service. So they would use a different account.
What I would say, if someone made an accusation against you online and they weren't who they say they are, it was a Porky Pig, for example, to use your example.
Yeah,
their accusations just shouldn't be taken seriously. Simple as.
That's easy to say, but unfortunately...
It's a common sense approach, and unfortunately, common sense is not common.
No, it's not, because unfortunately things can't be unsaid. That's the problem, you know what I mean? So when somebody says something, it can't be unsaid.
That's true.
But it's okay.
But let's say that I accuse you of something online, and there's no way of verifying who I am. Why should that accusation be taken seriously? Mm-hmm. There's no evidence of it. There's nothing. There's nothing to back it up. You can't attach it to an actual person. So it's as if a boss said it or something. So it shouldn't.
No, and you are right. You are right. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And if people make a serious accusation against somebody, particularly say of a sexual nature, because they seem to be the ones that stick.
Like if I said you were on the Epstein client list now or something stupid like that. You know what I mean? Even though that wasn't a list. Wasn't a list.
There was a lot of people on the client list. I'd say were shitting themselves over the weekend, particularly Bill Clinton.
Yeah, but they're never going to release the client list because the people in charge who are hiding it are probably on the list.
But they did release a list of loads of names the other day there,
They didn't. They released court documents from 2015 from one of 36 victims. From one of 36 victims. We didn't get a client list. We got her statement.
Yeah, I've seen a few names like David Copperfield and Michael Jackson. And
And Stephen Hawking.
Stephen. I mean, that had to be the oddest one, actually. I can't imagine Stephen Hawking partying on Epstein Island, to be honest with you.
Oh, my God, it's just
I've seen some of the funny gifs that are going around.
That itself is proof that it's not a list. Like, what's he going to do? Just stand in the corner and beep?
Stay there for a second, Tom.
Heart attack. Do.
Stay there, Tom. Let me go to Dylan. Dylan, hi. How are you?
Hey, Noel. How's it going?
Good, Dylan. Would you agree with the idea of having to prove your identity to use social media?
No, I object to that. On the basis of anonymity.
Anonymity.
Being anonymous.
Yeah,
that's the word.
It's a dreadful word. I know. It's one of my bugbears. That word. Yeah.
I think porn is the Trojan horse for bringing this into social media. They talk about the safeguarding of children. I think the onus is on the parents and to safeguard their children from the dangers of pornography and introducing that at a young age. And there's various workarounds that if
you there, Dylan? Sorry, have we lost you? Oh, I think we lost Dylan there for some reason. Let's go to Pat. Pat, hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, how are you?
Good, Pat. Sorry about that. We lost Dylan there. I'm sure he was saying something very important, but we lost him. In relation to social media, would you be happy enough with the idea of having to produce your your valid identification?
Yeah, so there's 2 points, obviously. Point number one is social media should all be at least 16 plus, right? I don't think that anyone at the age of 13 or under should be on social media. The simple reason is there's too many predators out there now. I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of them sting groups that will be making videos.
Yes,
now,
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's happening more and more. I mean, there's even people in my local area who were caught in the UK, who, in fact, I not personally knew, but knew through someone, this person. And, I think we should be verified online 100%, because that way, we can control it in some way, and that we don't have 11, 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, who are vulnerable to predators like that,
Yeah, but the danger is, and people's objection would be that, you're a grown adult, Pat. Why should you have to produce your passport for Twitter or social or Facebook or Meta or whatever they call it nowadays? Why should you have to give them your personal information? Which is, I mean, firstly, that would have to be conducted by a third party, because you couldn't just give that control to social media companies. It would have to be a trusted third party. But even then, with the way hacking happens in this world nowadays, we've seen it with the HSE, we've seen it with many other companies. The Russians are quite adept when it comes to hacking, that all of a sudden your personal information, your passport photographs, your passport identification could be leaked on the internet.
I know that, and maybe we should have to come up with something that like the old age card or something like that, or something where you don't have your passport number on it,
Yeah.
Because I mean, we need to safeguard it in somewhat, I mean, you book a flight, you give your passport details, I mean, let's be honest, your details are all over the internet, whether you like it or not.
No, I know. Yeah. You open a bank account, you have to give your passport details online if you open your bank account online. Yeah.
That's it, you know what I mean? So, I mean, all your details, whether you like it or not, are online in somewhat. And you might be oblivious, you might even know about it, you know what I'm saying? you might think, oh yeah, I just typed in something, I bought something on the internet, and all you get next thing, your date of birth, your first name, your last name, your address is on it. I mean, that's the world we're living in now, isn't it?
Yeah, but let me just go back to Dylan. Stay there for a second, Pat. Dylan, are you back?
Yeah, apologies about that.
That's okay. Pat makes good points there. When you're online shopping, you give your credit card or debit card details online. When you set up a bank account online, you have to upload your passport and all those kind of things. All those details are already out there. I mean, what's the big deal for not using it for social media?
Well, regarding social media, you're putting your opinions out there, and they can be easily taken out of context, or they can be, anti-government, anti-whatever hate speech laws the government put in, whatever their definition of hate is. I think a big worry with that as well is financial freedom. I'd worry that if I said something anti-government, everything's linked to my passport, everything's linked to my ID. Such as the Canadian truckers protest, let's say, in Canada. They protested based off COVID restrictions. And the Canadian government shut down their bank accounts and, put a real stop to them feeding their children and paying bills, etc.
Yeah, well, that's wrong. That's dystopian material, isn't it? I mean, we know that's wrong.
Yes, but that's the line that we're going down now. So one day I put up something about Leo Varadkar that he doesn't like, and then my bank account's frozen in the morning because everything's linked. Everything's going to be a digital ID.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, that's the problem. That's the world we live in, and that's, I'm completely against all that, and I'm against, these smart meters, same at the ESB, because I reckon if they want to cut you off, they cut you off, and that's why I refuse to get one of those put into my house,
Yeah, it's all about control, really.
Yeah, but on one hand, Pat, you're agreeing with it to safeguard children primarily. But on the other hand, you're kind of disagreeing with it and agreeing with Dylan. So which is it? I mean, if I set up my Twitter account tomorrow, by the way, this doesn't necessarily mean, Dylan and Pat, that when you go on Twitter or Facebook, you have to use your real name. But it just means that the name that you set up the account through is your real name and is your identification. Now, when you go on, you can set up your username as Dylan the Deed or, Doomsday Dylan or Doomsday, whatever. You can call yourself Porky Pig if you want. It doesn't matter. But as long as there is, somewhere in the background, your actual identification, so they know it's really you. Isn't that the point? Now, and by the way, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just giving the arguments for it that they're given. I personally don't agree with it.
So as I say, if it's not public facing, if it's only background information that the government would have over you, it sounds like it can only be negative on our end. If the government have anything against us, they can pull us aside with this digital ID. I
mean, I use my real name on Twitter all the time, and I put stuff up that would be considered anti-government on a regular basis. And I wouldn't let anybody tell me what I can and can't say. Now, there is limits because I still work for a radio station, so there is a level of limits that and I have to be reasonably careful about what I say. But I'm not going to defame anybody anyway. You know what I mean?
Let's say, Niall, 5 years ago, if you had have pointed out Epstein's Island, you could have been, in trouble for defaming or calling out someone, and there was no proof of it at the time. But 5 years later down the line, we have proof. So there's things like that where we need to take into account where in the future these things could come true. But what you're saying now might be seen with a bit of scrutiny.
In other words, what you're saying is that it'll stop the whistleblowing.
Yeah, essentially.
Right, yeah.
Okay, but do me a favour, Pat and Dylan, stay there just for a second because I've got to take a quick break.
Niall Boylan has been told to shut up from the time he was in school. And all through his life, they just keep telling him to shut up! But not anymore. Because now he has his own live podcast, the Niall Boylan Podcast.
All right, let me go to Breda as well. Breda, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Good. How would you feel if before you come on the show I asked everybody to produce their identification for my producer? I don't think it would work well because a lot of people come on the show and use fake names too. So,
Well, yeah, in that instance it wouldn't work. But I do, we have a public service card, and most people have one now. So why can't they issue something like that just has your name and your age on it, and it verifies that you are over the age for whoever you are.
And you are who you say you are. And
you are who you say you are. And that's all the details it needs to have. I understand where the chap is coming from with your I don't think I particularly want to give out my passport, although I had to do that with Revolut, I think.
Yeah, I did it with Revolut, yeah. And not only, by the way, with Revolut, you have to give your passport, they also then get you to take a photograph of yourself in the little circle.
Right, yeah.
It's a nightmare actually getting your head into that circle. And then they verify one against the other to make sure you are who you say you are.
Yeah. And I must have refused about 10 pictures of mine. I was like, oh, holy mother, come on, just take bloody things.
Well, isn't this the point Pat is making, that we do that anyway? So our information is out there in the clouds somewhere, either way.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, like, if the Russians want to get your information, they'll get your information,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I just think we need to start thinking about the younger people in our society. They're open to every bit of muck and dirt that's going on out there, and they're open to predators, and they're open to all sorts of things. We have to start safeguarding them. So if we have to give out a little bit of our information that you're not particularly comfortable with, I think that's what we're going to have to do.
And I get that, but we need a balance, and it's a difficult balance to try and protect children and give adults their freedom at the same time. And I get the point that Dylan is making, that you go, see, on Twitter or Facebook, you might have whistleblowers that will come out and say something because they can say it with anonymity, knowing that nobody will know who they are, and it gets it out there. I've seen stories of women who've come out and said they were raped by certain people or whatever it is, and it gets that information out there for other people to come forward. Yet, if you have a situation where people have to upload their identification, that's going to stop. So it creates a chilling effect.
But the information would have to be kept in a third party, as you said,
yes,
under GDPR, because your information, you can't just go in and release your information. Like, the whole thing about the European bringing in the GDPR is that your information has to be safeguarded. So,
but how many times, I know that, you know that, but I can tell you now, in most organizations, GDPR is not being recognized properly. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know then where the balance comes in, but like the public service card, it gives you your name, it gives you your picture, and it says you're over 18. And if you're under 18, it tells you what age they are under the age. So something like that would be sufficient.
Yeah, okay, so let me just go back to Dylan on that. Sorry, Dylan, what Breda's saying makes a bit of sense, because it would be third-party companies that would look after. For example, on our website, for our subscribers on our website, we have no idea of people's passwords, their credit card details, their debit card details. We have nothing to do with that. We can't even see it. It's done by a third-party company. In other words, we don't have that information. So, if somebody was to put up something or write something or, as, Mickey124, I have no idea who they are. I have no idea what their payment information is. I have nothing about it because it's not up to me. We don't look after that. We pay another company to do that. So in saying that, Dylan, you still have that anonymity. You can still go on Twitter, under an assumed name. Yes, you've given your verification, but nobody's going to get that information unless, of course, you defame somebody.
No?
Is that a fair point, Dylan? Sorry.
No, yeah, sorry, I was muted. I think it is a fair point, and you come back with the public services card having minimal information. It is probably a better idea than showing your passport.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there has to be some safeguards. Maybe it is possible to have a card issued to people where we could show minimal information. I wouldn't agree with the passport thing.
Okay, so what? Just a photograph, date of birth, and your name.
Yeah. And don't forget, Dylan, if somebody wants to stop your close down your bank account, your money, all they have to do is go to the revenue. They have all your details. Taxman has everything. But the taxman has all your details. It has your name, your address, your PPS number, your bank account details, everything else. So you're saying about what they did to the truckers in Canada. If we were to go down that, if somebody wants to go down that road here, and in the government side of things, all they have to do is contact the revenue, who are a government body.
No, but they wouldn't know who your name is. If Dylan went on tomorrow as Tiddlywinks 453 and start putting up stuff about the government,
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But I'm saying, if you went on, you're talking about you don't want to. If you want to go on as your own name, your worry is that you could be stopped down the road, whatever. But I mean, there's loads of ways somebody that can get at you if they want to get at you. So I just think. I
just think it's a slippery slope. It starts with this, and then where does it go?
That's the problem, Rita. If we, and there is a balance between your privacy here, and you do have a right to privacy. I mean, the information you give to banks, that's being given voluntarily by you. You know what I mean? So you have a right to privacy, and these are private companies. You know what I mean? Sorry, Pat.
We can safeguard our children in other ways. We can do what Florida has done now. The governor of Florida, any paedophile that's caught even communicating with a child that was proven has the death sentence. As simple as that. If you do that 2 or 3 times, they'll all change their minds. Simple.
Yeah, that's quite radical, actually, isn't it? Yeah, they want to give the death penalty to anybody who's caught involved in paedophilia.
Yeah, but the problem is with that is that a lot of them don't think they've ever done anything wrong. And I'm not going to go down the road how I know all that, but I mean, I know somebody whose whole attitude was, so they enjoyed it.
Oh,
so he wouldn't have cared about that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if he got the death penalty, he'd care about it quickly enough, wouldn't he?
Well, you see, but he might and he might not. Because, how many people in America are on death row for how long before it ever even happens? So they're still sitting in their little cell thinking their thoughts and whatever else, but they've still managed to do the harm they've done to the poor kids before they get in there.
Yeah, I personally believe as a Sanchez would be better off bringing in, laws like if you're caught, having sex with minors or trying to inveigle minors or being a paedophile, essentially, that you just should have your penis removed. And I think
exactly. That's always, yeah. Put it off, and then you're no danger.
Yeah, let you wander around for the next 60 years of your life with no penis. You know what I mean?
Nothing. Yeah,
wonderful.
Absolutely. That would be far better punishment than putting them on death row.
Yeah, I think we get more pleasure out of that. Let me just go to Angela. Angela, hi, how are you?
Can somebody tell me how would they go for a wee-wee if they did that?
To a tube or something. I don't know. I personally don't care.
A
hole between their legs or something. I don't know. They'd have to do it like a woman and squat. Anyway.
Yeah, that's it, a little straw.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm actually all for it. I'm all for it. I think the worst thing that Facebook have done recently is bring in this anonymous member thing that on pages now you can put up posts and you're anonymous and you're this. I think it's the greatest load of crap I've ever come across. I've nothing to hide. I'm not going to go out there and defame someone and, say what I want about somebody without there being repercussion. I'm not going to do that. And it's always been my thing, whether it's being pulled in by the guards, whether it's anything. I've nothing to hide. Do whatever you want. Fine. But my biggest thing about this is, will it not stop going back about 6-7 years ago, a page was set up about me, right? And what I wasn't called on that page, like every name in the dictionary I was called, it was in regards to rugby and a couple of rugby players. And nothing could be done about that. Nothing. Because it was a fake name, fake address, fake IP.
If you go to enough trouble, you could probably find out who some of them are. But the problem is it worth the trouble? Firstly, the problem with defamation laws is if somebody goes online and says something about you, Angela, and it's disparaging, right? They call you names or whatever, or make some sort of sexual comments in relation to you. You're absolutely within your rights to take a defamation case. But the problem is you have to hire a barrister and a solicitor. And that's firstly going to cost you $5,000 minimum to draft papers for the High Court, right? Now this is before you even get in a door of a High Court, right? Then you have to then you have to pay for those barristers to do what they call discoveries to find out who the individuals are if they're using, a fake name online. So they'll have to contact Twitter or Facebook. That could take nearly a year before you get that information, and that will cost you more money. And then you go to court. And the damages could be very little, if anything at all, unless you can prove it's really negatively damaged your credibility.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, defamation cases, unless they're cut and dry, they're not worth taking. Unless they're cut and dry.
It was clear. It was clear cut. It was clear.
And then, by the way, the person who you're suing has to have money. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there'd be no point in you suing me. There's no point in you suing me. I don't have any money. So you wouldn't get anything. You might get a judgment against me, but you wouldn't get anything. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what happens is,
I
unfortunately,
know
with
that.
defamation cases, unless you're suing a big company, it's usually not worth it. You know?
No, but the other thing is, it would look into all this bullying online, threats online, all these phishing scams, people getting money.
And I agree with both you and Breda in relation to this, right? I don't have a major objection to it, apart from the fact I do agree with what Dylan said earlier on. It may create a chilling effect on free speech, which means that people would be afraid to put up stuff that may be true, or, we might find out in 2 years' time that it's true. In other words, whistleblowers who go on confidently knowing they're anonymous. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I
but if you use
understand that.
something like the public service card, Niall, that would eliminate an awful lot of that, because then once you've just verified that you are who you are, as you said, then you can go up and put whatever name. I can be Reds or 154 or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Is that your name, by the way? Reds or 154?
No, no.
Reds or 154.
but that's it exactly. It's a thing of, it's just so you can be traced. And if I have nothing to hide, I don't give, all these, all the ones who were saying, oh, get the vaccine, they're, this 5G, they're tracing you. If their lives are that sad that they want to trace me, off with them. Because it's a waste of time.
There's nothing worth finding out.
There's nothing worth. If some poor sod is sitting there going, oh, let's see who she's talking. Oh, Jesus, she's talking to Niall Boylan again. You know what I mean? I've nothing to hide. And the way I look at it is, if you are so staunch about your beliefs and your opinions, why do you want to hide them?
Okay, we'll stay there for a second. Let me go to Alan. Alan, how you doing?
How you doing?
Hey, okay, Alan, that's a fair point. Why would you want to hide who you are if you believe in what you say?
It's not about hiding, right? As far as I can see, a great visionary nearly 100 years ago predicted all this. George Orwell predicted all this, and slowly but surely we have become more and more compliant with any direction that people want us to do. And the younger generations are the most compliant. In fact, they've been conditioned to be the most compliant. The younger generations are becoming more compliant. They'll give any information to be part of any social media or any financial agreement there. Now, what they've done
they do, because they're more used to doing it. We're less used to doing it, so we kind of object and grumble about it.
What's more, Noel,
questions everything that's going on around the world. Everything. She doesn't take it all as per se or whatever else, including, what happened during COVID and everything else. And she was only 18 at the time when that all started, or 19. And her friends question stuff. They don't just sit there.
Yeah, but they would be. Alan is right. They would be a lot more compliant than we would be, because we were never used to having to give that information out. Okay, but hang on. Just let me go back to Alan just for a second. So, Alan, look, this has come from Commission Amon, who are the new broadcasting authority, essentially, but they're now responsible for online safety and social media and everything else. And people thought, okay, when they said last week, we're doing this for porn sites to protect children, most people kind of went, okay, I kind of get that, okay? Now they're saying it's not just porn sites, it's social media as well. So that will cover Twitter, Facebook, everything else. So you wouldn't be happy to hand over your passport or driver's license?
No. So what they're doing is they're using what's known as the greater good, bringing a law and another way of monitoring. So we'll all be, that's okay, we'll all be complicit with it.
Yeah, sure, it's for the children, you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's for the children, that's grand. So it's a greater good. It's like a golden carrot to make you do it. Okay, we all do it. Now, when somebody then decides that they want to have free speech and they want to say what they want to do, we will be using this as protection as well, but there'll also be somebody there that will use it to silence people.
No,
that's always been the way. Listen, every invention will be used as a weapon against somebody. No matter how much good it brings, it will always bring bad as well. I'd be fairly wary of it.
And Ireland again, I don't know why we always have to be the first to do everything, Breda and Angela. Ireland will be the first to do this. And a lot of countries are now watching Ireland to see how Ireland going to do this. They suggested it in the UK a couple of years ago, but it never went any further than a suggestion. But now Ireland will be the first country to do it.
But have the UK now brought in laws that you have to be 16 or older before you can go onto any social media?
They're discussing that at the moment, yes, and they'll have a result for that at the end of the month. But that still doesn't involve using your identification yet. Now, I don't know what that means.
But how will they?
Well, I don't know. Well, at the moment. Well, here's the thing. At the moment, you have to be 13 to use social media. Now they're just going to increase it to 16. But to use social media to be 13. But an 11-year-old can sign up to social media tomorrow because you don't have to prove it. You just say you're sorry.
Can I ask Alan a question there?
Yeah, Angela, go ahead.
Alan, can I ask what type of freedom of speech would you like to put up that you wouldn't like to be identified for?
You should be able to express your opinion regardless of what it is.
Hold on. No.
On social media.
I'm asking. You can
hold on, let me finish. As Niall said, you have to hold on. Let me answer.
Opinion. But what I'm asking is, what?
Oh, we're losing Angela there. Okay, so she's basically saying, sorry.
What would you say?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, look, what I'm saying is that you have to be, like, as Niall said earlier on, you are responsible for what you say. So if you're going to express your opinion, you have to be aware of the fact that you're responsible for your actions. As simple as that.
Yeah, but currently, Alan, at the moment, now I am, because obviously I'm verified on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, right? And people know who I am and I use my real name. But yeah, a lot of people are not responsible for what they say.
I agree.
Because they're completely anonymous. They use fake names. They use fake email addresses to set up the account. I don't know, they might even do it from an internet cafe or something like that if they still exist. Or they use VPNs.
But no, there are tracking systems that can track mobile phones.
Oh, I know.
They can track computers. We don't need to be given our passports for that.
No, but
Alan, there's the freedom. Alan, freedom. 1 second now. Alan, there's the freedom of speech thing, right? But there's also you're having a 13-year-old child, right, sitting there on social media, chatting to a 50-year-old man who's pretending to be a 16-year-old or a 14-year-old.
Okay, Angela, and that's exactly what I'm saying. They can't just say, okay, everybody's going to give their passport and ID to join social media. No, they have to put something in there to give greater good.
Sorry, Breda, you wanted to say something to Alan there. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like,
sorry, Breda, go ahead.
We talked about this before. Sorry, Alan. Like, that group that set up, I think it was a Russian-based one, Ask FM,
yeah.
Yeah, like my daughter was bullied on that, and I thankfully found out. But there was no way that could be shut down. It took them a long time to get rid of it. And every nasty person that could be on it was on it. If there was some kind of a setup, and I don't necessarily want to put out my passport number and everything else, but like the public service card, something on that basis, that at least they have some way maybe of tracking back and shutting down someone that's been vile and nasty and hurtful. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, I would agree, but there are other systems available to governments that can do that.
But like
they're able to track for
that Ask FM was ran for years, and there was poor children that took their lives after being on it, and nobody couldn't trace it back.
But that was because it was outside, because obviously it was operating from outside the country.
Jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But but there has to be some way that those kind of groups cannot set up in a country anonymously.
See, I'm kind of agreeing with Alan, and don't get me wrong, I don't agree with people going online and making defamatory remarks towards people, or or inciting violence or whatever it is. But I'm an advocate for free speech, and if somebody wants to do that, fire away and do it. But you must be responsible for it to some degree.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I'm wary, like Alan, of the idea of heading down the rocky road whereby you have to hand over your passport or driver's license just to go on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it happens to be. Because where is that going to lead to? What's that going to lead to next? And then, are you going to be responsible for just having an opinion? Or what happens, as I mentioned earlier on, if a whistleblower, wants to say something and they're conscious of the fact that they're anonymous and they can say it, but if they're not anonymous and they've handed over their passport already to set up the account, no matter if they are Reds or 543, but they've handed over their passport to set up the account, well, they're conscious that somebody knows who they are. That's enough to stop them from saying something.
That's why I'm saying why does it have to be let's set up some sort of a card system that just has your name and your age and verifies you're over the age that you should be.
Well, do me a favor. Stay there, Breda and Alan. I want to come to Christine and Pat in a second too, just to take a quick break.
Niall Boylan has been told to shut up from the time he was in school. And all through his life, they just keep telling him to shut up. But not anymore. Because now he has his own live podcast, the Niall Boylan Podcast.
All right, let me just stay there, both Alan and Breda. Let me just go to Pat if I can. I'm going to come to Christine then. Pat, hi, how are you?
How are you, Niall? Thanks for having me on.
Good, Pat. I mean, Pat, would you agree with the idea of handing over your passport or driver's license to set up a social media account?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And I'll explain why. For those people I just listened earlier on, just digress slightly. For those people who say, I have nothing to hide, it's not about you. It's about the tools you're giving to a state that's unaccountable. And those tools will always be mismanaged and used to usurp our freedoms. All democracies tend to go towards tyranny. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when the tyranny starts off, it starts off basically because democracy espouses freedom. Freedom to do whatever it is you wish to do. But the problem with that freedom is that it can be overly free, in that it progresses from there into, I have the freedom to call myself what I want and you have to obey me. So that freedom then goes further and further. So, hang on, just bear with me. The point is that too much freedom will lead to tyranny. And we have a problem there with the tyranny is that once you give the state the tools to conduct tyranny, they'll use it. So it started off with an emotional argument, saying that it's about porn, and they want to stop children getting porn. If I want to get RT, Russia Today, or Sputnik, and find out what the Russians are saying about the war in Ukraine, I can't get them. I can't get them anywhere in the so-called Western world. They're banned. Now, how is it that they can do that for a war and they are just hiding what the other side have to say, making me look like a child and you look like a child because the state is saying, oh, you can't hear that because it's not good for you.
You're limited in the amount of, you're limited in the amount of information you're given. Well, some people refer to that as propaganda,
Yes, but why can't they do that for porn? They can, but they won't. Problem, reaction, solution.
Well, we've done it. I mean, in relation to the pornography, as people know, Pirate Bay was a very popular website at one stage where people would download movies and everything else. There is no ISP provider in Ireland now where you can get on to Pirate Bay unless you use a proxy server or a VPN. So, in other words, it is possible to block it in the mainstream. Now, people will always find a way around things if they try hard enough. But in the mainstream, it's popular or it's easy enough to restrict access to a website or restrict access to anything if they want to.
Yes, but they don't do it. The question is why. And the answer is they're bringing in these new rules for our safety. God forbid that we can't control our own safety. But they bring in these rules based on emotional attachments so that they can force through other tools that will then control us and what we say on the political spectrum. Let alone on the so-called greater good. But the difficulty I have with it is that, look, if anybody has a driver's license on them, take it out right now, this instant. Take it out. Turn on the torch on your mobile phone. Turn the face, the picture up and shine the torch from behind the driver's license. Go to the top right-hand corner and you'll see an embedded chip. And when you follow that chip around, just look at the 3 or 4 lines that go right around the entire edge of the driver's license. That's a refid chip. That can be read at up to 50 yards away. and it has your PPSN number on it, and nobody knows.
I wasn't aware of that. I didn't.
No, take it.
Well, I'll do it. No, I'll do it. I'll do it after the show. But
get one of your producers to do it while they're listening. But it's there anyway. The point I'm getting at is that
I'll take your word
has been
for
put
it.
in place. You'll see it. When you see it, you go, "Good God, why is that there?" I actually asked NDLS, which is an NGO. I asked them what it was doing there. None of the staff.
So remind me in. Okay, so I'll do it. I'll have a look after the show. And people can do it now while they're listening if they wanted to verify what you said is true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it's true or not. So, I mean, so what you're saying is on the top right hand corner of a driver's license.
Yeah, and you have their picture, your face pointing towards you.
Yeah,
and shine the torch on
behind
your mobile phone through behind it.
Yeah,
so the light's coming through.
Yeah,
and somewhere around the word authority.
the driving license authority is on the top. Yeah, written on the top. Yeah.
So somewhere it says Road Safety Authority.
Yeah.
And in around there you'll see the microchip. And our government never told us it was there. It's been there for over 12 years.
Would you stop, Pat? I don't. I know. I got my producer to have a quick look now. I don't know whether he has his driver's license.
The reason I'm saying it is that I actually had to replace.
No, he's doing it now. He's in my ear. He's telling me he's going to do it now. Anyway, but aside from that, okay. So I know I understand. And by the way, every conspiracy theory turns out to be fact 6 years later. We all know that, right? Almost all of them, anyway. Apart from the world being flat. But so in saying that, I do understand, and I'm a very critical thinker. If somebody says something to me, I don't just dismiss them or write them off, because I'll tell you why. I learned pretty quickly that was the wrong thing to do. And I'll tell you what, I had a caller who used to call into the radio all the time. His name was Joseph. And I'm going to be honest with you, I regret it now. I used to say, Joseph, would you go out of that and put your tinfoil hat on you? And I used to say that to him all the time. And he used to come on the air and say things, no, in 6 years' time, there'll be a virus. We'll all end up having to have a passport to go in and out of shops, to go in and out. And I kind of laughed at him. I used to laugh at this guy. And it was like he was predicting the future. This is 7 or 8 years ago. And I only spoke to him there recently again. And almost everything he had said to me at the time came true. Now, whether that's coincidental or whether by design, but it all came true. And since then, I said, I'm never going to write off anything anyone says to me anymore. I'll always critically think everything. Okay, but I get the point that you and Alan are making about, privacy and you don't want to give the government that much power because then you go down this kind of dystopian route, and I get all of that. Mm-hmm. But I also I do agree that we have to do something to protect children.
Well, yes, agreed. But here's the thing. I was on Facebook, and I was in a rather heated discussion with an individual in the comment section of the page. And this guy just would not let go. And I said in my comment, you're like a dog with a bone. You just won't give it up. I got a 2-week ban.
Wow.
Now, if they can do that, because I compare.
I got a 1-week ban from Facebook going back about 7 years ago. And the reason, because I was referencing another post. It was around the time of the Black Lives Matter. It must be about 9 years ago. The Black Lives Matter movement had started up. And I just said hashtag all lives matter. And I got banned from Facebook for a week. Yeah.
See, the thing is that they can do it if they want. The other aspect of it is I can go on my machine here, the iPad or the phone or whatever, and I can access free porn within 30 seconds, less. Now, if that free porn was banned and it had to be credit card only, you'd see a massive decline in the use of it. Just that one.
I get you. I need to go. Stay there with me, please, Alan and Pat. I need to go to Morris in a second. By the way, I don't believe this. My producer in my ear, he said his socks are blown off. He said, you're 100% correct. He's put a light behind his driver's license and he can see the shape of his chip. He said it looks about the size of a SIM card.
Yes, and if you put that in the microwave, it'll blow.
Okay. I genuinely didn't know that, and I'm going to have a look when I'm finished to show myself on my own as well. Let me go to Morris. Morris, hi. How are you doing?
Niall, how are you doing? Yeah, I have one of those new licenses. There's like a credit card. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, the one with the credit card, the one with the hologram on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has my photograph on the left-hand side of it.
Okay.
It's like a plastic. It's like a lump of plastic. A plastic license, like a credit card.
Okay, if you look, my producer's telling me, if you go to the NDLS logo, the logo where it says NDSL, if you put a torch behind it, you can see the shape of it, according to him. Now, I haven't seen it myself, so I don't know, and I can't verify what it is, and I haven't got a statement from them to say what it is. But I am going to look into it, by the way, because I'm now intrigued.
Like I said, you know the way people were talking earlier on before we get onto the privacy or not. A guy can sit outside my house and not get out of his car and read the meter, the ESB electric meter or the water meter, because there's a chip in it.
Yeah, well, the
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
He doesn't even have to get out and open up the wall anymore. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they can do anything. So if it's on the license, well, there you go. They know exactly where you are and they can pinpoint you. But I recall I was talking to one of your researchers. I remember Leo Varadkar had a false account on Twitter, and he was following himself around on various different government. That
was an accusation that he was made, and he was liking all his own posts, etc., etc. Yeah, but Stephen Donnelly was accused of doing the same thing as well, by the way, if you remember.
Yeah, exactly. So why would you allow a government that wasn't selected by the people to rule you and say, well, listen, we're going down this road, you better comply or else. But I think we all are knackered anyway. Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to get revenue to collect the TV license, so you won't have any say in the matter.
That's
like the local property. Yeah, like the property tax. Like I got caught for property tax. I owed 1,000. I'm a staunch believer I shouldn't be taxed for owning my own house. And they put their hand in my pocket every year and take 300, 400 quid. And I ran up a bill of 1,000. I wouldn't pay it, and they came into my wages and they got it all out. I couldn't believe it. So the TV license will go the same way. Anything they want off you, they'll take through revenue.
Yeah.
But should you have to, you're giving up your private and personal information to go on a broadcasting system? I don't think so. Twitter is gone. It's dead. X is dead. I don't know what's going to happen.
No,
I've never done Facebook.
X has more traffic now. Now, obviously, they're struggling with advertisers.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but they've more traffic than they've ever had. More traffic now.
Yeah, I
they're
know,
busier
because
than they've ever been.
every Tom, Dick and Harry and scruff bag is on it. The amount of bots that come onto my Twitter page, hey, do you want to have sex, honey? Do you want to have... I've blocked more people than I've had blind fucking dates now, to be honest with you.
I know. There's always one on every thread. How are you sexy?
I'll tell you what, there was a gay guy on the Twitter, and he put up a tweet, right? He's well known within the Irish society. I'm heading over to such a place. Anybody, any ideas? And I said, yeah, if you're up near Newcastle, go into this certain pub. It's a great pub. They love the Irish and they love the Dubs, right?
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, I had about fucking 200 hits. A gay fella's tried to come on to me because I made a comment to a gay fella.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. You see the way they follow the traffic. So
okay, but should you have to? You don't believe you should have to verify who you are?
No, I don't think I should. No, I don't think I should. And the day they want you to pay for porn, get off. So if that's all you're on it for, go and play with yourself or get a fucking VHS tape.
Okay, and the idea that they're bringing it in under the guise of protecting children, because there's always a guise.
You've had people on your show already before the podcast and since your other radio show, 9-year-olds with smartphones are watching porn. They've lost the plot. The kids are corrupted. Forget about it. You're chasing the horse that's already bolted.
Right, okay. So you believe there's no point? And sure, kids are cleverer than us anyway. They'll figure out how to do it without the verification.
It's about controlling us. It's about making us comply. We're the little hens that are brought out every day. Let them feed them water, then put them back into their box for the rest of the night.
Stay there for a second. Let me go to Christine. Thanks, Morris, for that. Appreciate it. Let me go to Christine. Christine, hi, how are you?
Good morning, Ed. How are you?
How you doing? You've heard Pat, absolutely not. Morris says absolutely not. But Breda and Angela were all for it.
No, I can see from both points of view. I'm very equal and open-minded, but I don't believe you should have to put up a personal document. If they want to bring something like this into play, they should give something even for a job interview. You don't have to state your date of birth on it anymore. You don't have to state.
But that's for discrimination reasons. That's because because you shouldn't be discriminated to be ageist.
You shouldn't be. But why don't you do it for if a job you're working in? But you have to do it on social media.
No, hang on. For most jobs, you have to provide a passport.
No, but I'm saying you don't have to put down your date of birth. So on your CV, and I didn't know that only till recently.
Well, no, that's when you're making an application for the job. You don't have to put down. But if you do get the job, you have to provide a passport or driver's license for identification.
You do, yeah. But I don't believe, I'm not going to put my passport online for, I don't know who's working behind the computer system that would have access to my passport and details.
Okay, can I ask you, and I'm only giving you the alternate arguments, by the way. It's not that I agree with it, right? But have you ever booked a flight online?
I don't. No, I haven't. My mother and my partner has booked flights. I have never booked it. I haven't a clue how to use stuff like that.
Okay, but most people have, Christine, have booked a flight online. When you book a flight, you give your passport number.
That's going on holidays. That's not giving someone that's like.
But you're still giving a private company your information. What I'm saying is, we do that all the time naturally anyway. We're okay with doing that. If you open up a Revolut account online, you have to use your passport or driver's license to verify your identity. So verifying your identity online is nothing new. It's not a new thing. Now, I understand what Pat is saying, and I by the way, I completely agree with Pat. And I agree with everything that's been said by most people today. Obviously, I'm just giving you the alternate argument that we do already provide a lot of information to people and private companies online anyway.
I just think it's a bit far with with Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of it and stuff like that. That I don't believe that if someone you don't know who it is having your passport and I do believe that if a child or someone not say teenagers, boys and girls or whatever it is that are they don't know if they're gay, straight, whatever they are, and they want to access porn online to figure out who they are, whatever, they're going to do it. It's about the control you have over them. If my son, if I seen that, he's only 8 now, so when he gets to a teenager, if I found out that he was watching porn, I'd be trying to find a website that would say be somewhat appropriate and be look, if you're going to do it, I want to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. You know what I mean? I'm not obviously you try stop him. That would be the natural thing to do.
Of course.
But if they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyway. And if they're doing it behind your back, you don't know what websites they're on, what they're going to sign up to, everything like that.
Are you on social media, Christine, yourself? Would you be on Facebook or Twitter?
I am, yeah.
Are you on Twitter?
Yeah. I'm not on Twitter. I haven't a clue how to use it. When it first opened many, many moons ago, I did have an account, but that was going back 10 years ago, I think it was.
So it's mainly Facebook you just use, yeah?
Yeah, I use Facebook and Instagram, yeah.
Yeah, well, Facebook, I'm assuming your Facebook account is under your real name, Christine, is it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, so people know who you are anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But in saying that, there was, if there's people out there, people that set up,
fake accounts,
double pages and stuff like that, and stuff like that. Say if my partner now, right, for instance, he doesn't have Facebook, he uses mine, and he'll comment on stuff, he'd say Shane here, do you know what I mean? He has a Facebook account, he just doesn't have a phone or anything, but he hasn't used it in ages, so we just kind of not our names aren't the same on it, it's my name on it, it's my Facebook. So both, because he doesn't use his one, he hasn't used it in years, so he'd comment off mine if there was something up he liked, and he'd be oh, Shane here, or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you. Just let me finally go to Bernie on this. Bernie, hi, how are you?
I'm grand. And the question was again?
Would you object to using your passport or your driver's license to open or use social media? To open an account?
Yes, I do object.
You do object?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do object.
Why do you object when the argument that's being made is to protect everybody, including children? But the argument being made is that you must be responsible for what you say. In other words, if you defame somebody, or you say something, that's untrue about somebody, well, then you must be responsible for it. So they have to find a way of finding out who you are.
Yeah, but no, the thing I think about it, maybe I'm really old-fashioned, but when we all started off with our accounts, Gmail, Hotmail, whatever we have. That information, we gave all our date of birth and details back in the day for them, and surely that's adequate. We still work those accounts and we pay for things and we do things with them. Mm-hmm. Surely that's enough information. Our passport is kind of personal to us, and our birth certs, they're personal to us. They identify who we are as people.
No, I know they do, but we do give up those documents on a regular basis to different companies because we have to. You know what I mean? Including airlines, including booking tickets on airlines, including open bank accounts, and all that kind of stuff,
They're specifically for things that we are using, whereas porn and all those things, to me, they're a blatant abuse of women and sex. They demean everything that is sexual and private to people.
And what about social media? What about, say, Twitter or Facebook? Would you object to giving them your driver's license or passport?
Yeah, I would. I don't think. I mean, that's my choice to go on them, and if I have to pay a fee, I don't know how you work them. I don't have them.
Okay.
I don't.
No, there's no fee. They are free at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. They already can trace you through so there are many things, and there's so much abuse and things. I'd prefer to see security measures improved on these websites and medias, because I really think that we really are going down a dark hole with all this A1 or AI, or whatever you call it.
AI, yeah. You never know what's real anymore, really, to be honest.
No, and I mean, honestly, we have to take a step back and be realistic in reality and look and say, okay, they're personal to us. You know, those details are our details. We went to the trouble of buying a passport and making sure that our details were safe and honest and true. And then why would you get them to some site that could be, you know, use it in the most dark webs or whatever the things that are out there? I'm really unsure and I'm scared of them. So I would be very anxious.
Well, mind you, I've learned a lot today, by the way, from Pat in particular. I learned about this chip on a driver's license, which I never knew about up until today. I didn't even know there was a chip on it. And thank you, Pat, for informing me. And I'm actually looking here now on the driver's license website, which verifies, by the way, there is a chip. What information will be stored on the microchip on the card? And this is from the official website. The card will have a chip on it. The data it holds relates to the production of the card and not to the holder. By January 2014, the data on the face of the card will also be contained on the chip to provide an additional layer of security. Then they say, one of the questions, will the chip contain data about traffic offences, penalty points and disqualification? The card will have a chip on it. The data it holds relates to the production of the card and not the holder. By January 2024, says the same thing again. At present, there are no plans to put any information on the chip.
If you can, yeah.
Yeah, they
come back. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Pat.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks. Now it says there's no plans. In other words, there's no plans now. There's a whistleblower from a German insurance company. I'll keep it brief as I can. The German insurance company sent a letter to an individual called, if I think of it in a minute, I will. It's a Facebook page, and it's this guy, Jeff Buys Cars, and he read it out. And in the middle of it, now I didn't know, I've known about this chip for years, but I didn't know what it was for. But in the middle of his presentation, which takes about 10 minutes, so it's Jeff Buys Cars. I'm not trying to sell cars, but the conversation he had, or what he read out was that all cars are going digital in the future.
Yeah.
And when you're disqualified from driving, now disqualification can be that you've eaten too much meat and your carbon credits are gone through the roof, or it can be
that's a possible future, all right. Yeah.
Yes, and
or you've taken too many flights this year. Yeah.
Correct. Or it could be that you went 1 kilometre over the speed limit. So the point I'm getting at is that if your engine will be stopped, because from 2035, all car engines will have to speak to, electronically, of course, speak to the speed limits. So all speed signs will have a transmitter in them, and all engines will slow down to the speed limit that's there. And it's voluntary, of course. But if you don't do it, you're going to be screwed. So the point is that they will have the systems in place that the engines are controlled by someone outside of your car. So that your
in other words, if you're banned from driving and you get in with your driver's license in your pocket and you're banned, your car won't start.
Correct. That system is already available to
I'm absolutely sure that technology is there already. Yeah. No, and I don't, Pat, I don't doubt you for a minute, because if somebody had said to me 20 years ago what's going on today, for example, I would have been horrified. The only people that were stopping us from talking many years ago was the Catholic Church, and we give out about that. And now we're gone back down the same route again. And we have a government now want to bring in legislation to shut us up as well. So but sorry, listen, I've run out of time, unfortunately. But Pat, thank you for that little insight, by the way, Pat. I know people can make what they want out of it. But I have no doubt that things in the future are going to change radically. And yes, I am concerned when we start bringing in legislation for verification of identification or speech or whatever it happens to be, that there is, no end to that it just keeps going on and getting worse and worse until we get into some sort of dystopian world. And I think, Bernie, you're quite concerned about that too, for the future of your grandchildren as well, that you don't want to live in a world where they're completely controlled.
No, I don't. And I think it's back to the ass and cart and, wearing the tinfoil hat on your head. It's getting ridiculous. It's gone so fast past us all. I'm trying to catch up with all the other things every day, and I find it very challenging on a daily basis to even acknowledge things and work things out. And I'm a human being. And I don't know how I'm going to cope in 2035 if honestly, it's scary. My grandchildren and all the people coming after me, I don't know how this is going to evolve. This is not the world I kind of want them to evolve into.
Yeah, the one thing I'm worried about is what Pat spoke about there a few minutes ago. We're already seeing it being used in some countries on trials in other countries, which is these, carbon credits and all this kind of nonsense. And we've seen the credit system in China where people literally are not allowed into a shopping centre because they've already used up their credits, their social credits. In other words, if you're bold in society.
But look, I can't even work out the bins. Like, I can't still work out to figure out the blue and the grey.
Got me with the old days. You just burn the rubbish in the fire or throw it in a plastic bag in the bin and just take it. You know what I mean?
Like, I there wasn't anything wrong with that lifestyle, and now I'm so obsessed about how much weight, how do they do it, you know, and I try to educate myself, but it's so hard to get information on all these things.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. It's getting more and more complicated as we go on. Some of it is good. A lot of it is bad. Listen, thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Christine. Thank you to everybody who got involved in the show. Thank you, by the way, for supporting the show. Remember what I said to you earlier on. Yes, it was the busiest show we've ever had on record in relation to immigration. Immigration tends to be our busiest shows anyway. But yes, it was the busiest since we've actually started. So many people both downloaded and watched it. Over 80,000 people either watched it live, downloaded it from YouTube or from Spotify or Amazon or our website, whatever it happens to be. That's a lot of people. So much so that we normally take them down from Twitter and Facebook when we're finished the live show that you're watching now. It'll be deleted. And the reason for that is just to drive you to go to Spotify and go to our website, because that's the only way that we can actually get any money out of you, because we get you to subscribe to the website. So the reason we take it down from Twitter, because we want to give it to you for free every day, so that's what we do, but we take it down again once the show is over. But so much so, yes, it was such an important show, we felt we'd leave it up. So we left it up yesterday. So yesterday's show is actually on Twitter. You can watch the whole thing from start to finish. If you want to watch any of the other shows or the interviews that we don't stream live, by the way, they're available on our website, www.niallboylan.com. If you subscribe to a payment plan, which is $5.99 a month, not an awful lot, it helps us to provide this platform every single day. Every day we pick one subscriber and that person gets a smug mug, which is one of these mugs. And as you can see, I have them there, but there's a new one. That's the older one. But mind you, it looks kind of similar to the new one. There it is there. But on the back of it now, for the referendum, we have woman, adult, human, female. That's our special referendum special mug. Anyway, thank you to everybody who supports us. Please try and financially support us on the website, niallboylan.com. If you want to just give a one-off donation, we would really appreciate it. If it's a $5 or you're very wealthy and you think we provide a very good service here for people to have, their open opinions and view or say whatever they want every single day, uncensored, we'd really appreciate that donation if you want to give it to us. We'd be quite happy, and I can guarantee you it'll be put back into the show. Any money we get, we improve the show. We try and get better cameras to get better quality. We try to have faster uploads so as you can get it quicker. Everything we do, every penny we get, we put back into it. And unfortunately, we're not actually covering our costs. We don't get paid for doing it. So please try and support us. Go to our website. Do it now, niallboylan.com. Thank you to everybody for supporting us. And if you can't afford to do that, I completely understand. Times are tough. The one thing I will ask you to do is tell a friend about the show. Share a link to the show from Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else, just with a friend, and tell them all about the show. We'll talk to you again tomorrow at 12. Until then, have a great day.
The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Podcast. Listen live on Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual live stream services. To get in touch, just WhatsApp or text 085 100 2255. The Niall Boylan Podcast. They told me to shut up. Available for download.